like no more. Hey, the them over the speak. I know they only give no time and say, I tell you, say, can let go on. Me not want no more of your temptation. Say I'm the bitch, you are big district. Me rather have ya come take over your space. You know that you're wicked and me know that you're wrong. So come back to hell and leave. This time, me wanna hustle more. Cause I know what's in store. Me don't wanna hustle no more. Cause Babylon, I don't wanna live like no more. Me don't wanna hustle no more. Cause I know what's in store. Me don't wanna hustle no more. Cause Babylon, I don't wanna live it like no more. Maybe me get on there like no easy. Every morning me have to find some money. Feed me teeth, baby me take a knee. Look up the key and look up credit. They coming up on this and the police chase after me. Hear this? All praise.
Well, all praises to the mighty Yahweh. And I just want to come through real quick and we're gonna learn some things today. Just like I can do it, doing it for the family. Just doing some translation with the brother Amin Osiris. But let's just get right on into it. All right.
Hotep, I am the Amin Osiris, the one and only undisputed God of law. We are www.deceptionstoppers.com, America's only child support education service. I am not a lawyer. This is not a law firm. I do not advocate that you don't support your human offspring. I simply advocate you made them in private, exercise your right to raise them in private. Today, in this class, what I'm going to teach you, and this is a class that we do offer online, but I'm going to give you some basic information. Again, I won't be before you long. All right, and I'm going to show you, all right, and now I'm going to read this. 4D contractors will openly admit that they did, in fact, deprive you of your rights, privileges, and immunities under color of law.
And I definitely want to second the motion. I'm not going to be cutting in too much, but I definitely want to say this is an easy thing to do, an easy technique. And a lot of people, he says a lot of big words, but that's why I'm going to break his words down. Don't worry about it.
Gentlemen, when you are suing for deprivation of rights under color of law, you have to prove two things. It is very simple. Number one, you have to prove the right that you were deprived of, and number two, you have to prove that the parties acted under color of law. And I'm going to
right there. You see it right there. You just need two things to sue these people. Just two things. What was those two things again, though?
Under color of law. Gentlemen, when you are suing for deprivation of rights under color of law, you have to prove two things. It is very simple. Number one, you have to prove the right that you were deprived of, and number two, you have to prove that the parties acted under color of law. And I'm going to show you how to.
Okay, you have to prove they deprive you of your rights. They deprive you of all types of rights in those child support courts. It's very easy to prove that. It's very easy to prove that they working under the color of law because they're under contract. You know, we got the contracts. We don't play no games with that. But check this out. Hold on. You got their contracts right there. Look at that. That's magistrate services. How much they get? See how much they get. Y'all see that? $1,358,000. But let's continue though.
Approve both. Okay. Now you can obtain this and achieve this with a set of interrogatories. All right. This is just something I whipped together for this class. Okay. And what's going to happen?
And we got our own interrogatories. You can go to Fighting for Fatherhood right here. Go to the and then go to the file section. We got interrogatories for you. They right here. All you got to do is change your name and your case number. Change the names and the case numbers. And everything is already here for you. He about to go over it. But everything is here for you. All you do is change the name and give it to him. All right. Well, let's check it out though. Let's continue though.
Is when you question these people, when you interrogate them, all right, one of the things I love to do is use definitions. So when you are questioning them, you're giving them two options: admit it or deny it. Okay. So, of course, now this can't be denied, and we know that. All right, but what I want you to see here is 1983 imposes liability on anyone. All right, it says anyone who, under color of law, deprived you of your rights, privileges, and immunities. All right, so it says any rights, privileges, and immunity. Here's the definition of any, and that any is used to refer to one of some of a thing or number of things, no matter how much or many. Okay, so what this means is all you got to do is to prove that they deprived you of one right. That's it. All right, and your main goal, of course, your main attack is going to be on due process. All right, the involuntary servitude might get thrown out. A couple other, the right to not associate. Some of those might get thrown out. Okay, but I guarantee you, the due process will not. So what you're going to do?
All right, so it let it be known right here that this is what they violate, and it's right in the interrogatories. He just put in, this is what they violated. They did not give you due process. They didn't let you know they was taking your money out of your check. They didn't have you, and they're gonna show. He gonna show how they deprived of due process by the law. But basically, due process is you sign a contract with them. But we can continue though. We can definitely continue.
When you question, and of course, this is why using their information against them is important. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to prove, number one, we already know, we're doing it under this lawsuit here, okay? Now, we're going to admit 1983 allows each contractor, its agents, employees, and subcontractors to be found liable to you when they have acted under color of statute, ordinance, regulation, custom, or usage of any state or territory of the District of Columbia, okay? We know that child support is federal law, so the federal courts have jurisdiction, right? And it's also ran by a federal corporation, okay, which is in fact in the District of Columbia. All right, so going down here, we already know. So what we're going to do is we're getting them now. You already know that Title 42, all right, which is comprised of the Social Security Act, was never enacted into positive law. Okay, it's prima facie evidence of.
Now, right here, he's getting a little confusing for some people. Basically, what it means is that the House of Representatives, they never passed it through Congress. All the majority of the Congress never voted to make it law. Therefore, it's the color of law, and they have to sign a contract with you, okay? They have deprived you of your rights by not signing a contract because it is not the law to be on child support. Child support is strictly a contract, all right?
Of law. I've done this video on color of law. Okay, so admit this or deny it. Can they deny this? No, they cannot. This is written by the United States House of Representatives, Office of the Revision Council, United States Code. All right, they can't deny it. Okay, if they deny anything on this document, all right, and here's the thing, you can also use this, when you go to court, you can also use this, information like this to blast the hell out of them. All right, they're not going to see it coming. Okay, so.
And they won't see it coming if you understand what he's talking about. And it's not hard. But if you don't understand one thing, there is 12 things that we're talking about. So just stay tuned.
Now we get them to admit, they have to admit it because they have these interrogatories have to be answered, that yes, Title 4D was never enacted into positive law. Okay, now let's start sticking it in a little more. Down here, we're asking them to admit that each 45 CFR 75.2 contractor, its agents, employees, and subcontractors perform 45 CFR 302.34 contractual duties under 45 CFR 303.107C terms and conditions in return for payment by the Child Support Enforcement Agency, and did certify that the current 4D case, which is against you, was established in compliance with provisions of Title 4D of the Social Security Act. They can't deny this, can they? So
what did he just say, man? He's saying a lot of shit. What did he really just say? He just said that according to their law, they're supposed to give you due process, and you're supposed to know the terms and conditions of child support before you sign it. That's what due process is. It's having a chance to defend yourself, having a chance to know what you're getting yourself into before you get into it. Right here, according to the child support laws, you are supposed to know the terms and conditions of child support. But let's continue though.
Right here, they're openly admitting that child support was never enacted into positive law. Down here, they're admitting that they enforced that case in compliance with Title 40 of the Social Security Act. So they're openly admitting right here that they acted under color of law. There's no getting around it. Now, here we go. I'm not going to go over too heavy into the contracts right now. Now, here we are. Here, down here is where you're going to put in your Fifth Amendment claims, which are valid. Okay? So admit that my claims are valid under the Fifth Amendment, which requires that I shall not be deprived of life, liberty, or property unless by due process of law. The requirement of the Fifth Amendment is also present under 45 CFR. I'll skip the numbers. The due process rights of the parties involved must be protected.
That's the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution, okay? That's why when you go to a higher court and you prove that they did not give you due process, they squash on the Child Support Enforcement Agency. I suggest you go to the group Fighting for Fatherhood. You get those interrogatories right here. All right, they're in the file section. You join the group. And then all you got to do, as I said before, change my name to your name and give it to their ass and blast they monkey asses.
And at 666A5CI, the state must afford due process safeguards. Admit that. So yes, they're going to openly admit, yes, we have to provide you due process safeguards. All right. And matter of fact, let's do this. Let's put an X there. All right. So they're going to admit it. Bam. Okay. Now, here it is. And you've seen me teach on this before, and this is why you're going to use it. It's not going to change, gentlemen. It's going to be the same thing. Okay. You're going to redundantly use this to prove your claim is valid. Admit that 42 USC 666, mark of the beast, procedures for a simple civil process for voluntarily acknowledging paternity, under which the state must provide, and this should actually be this should actually be right here. All right, yeah, that's what we want. Hold on, let me just fix that. I didn't like how that sounded. Okay, that, which, there we go. Each, Control P. You want to be very specific on that, all right, because you're bringing claims against these Title 40 contractors. All right, so that's very important. Under which each 4D contractor, agents, employees, and subcontractors must provide that before I sign the acknowledgement of paternity, I must be given notice orally or due notice. Here it is. What is due process? Adequate notice. Okay. Orally or through the use.
All right, so what is he talking about? He just showing the law that is in the Social Security Act, which the Social Security Act made child support. Child support is Title 4D of the Social Security Act. And he's basically just showing how, according to their law, they're supposed to give you due process, meaning you're supposed to know what you're getting yourself into before all of a sudden your money is being taken from your job. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, you have no due process whatsoever. And also, it's a contract. But let's continue though.
Use of audio, video, audio equipment, and in writing of the following legal consequences that arise from signing the acknowledgement. Now, if you did not sign an acknowledgement, if you gave DNA, all right, if you gave DNA, you got married, all right, it applies, because no matter what, when your offspring are born, okay, when your offspring are born, what happens is they are offspring, they are human offspring. Once they get that birth certificate and that social security card, once you get that, they become children. All right, look up the word children and look up the word offspring. You'll notice.
Now, what he's doing right here, and like I said, I got to explain some of this. What he's doing is, you know what I mean? He's basically talking about how the Social Security, it's Black's Law Dictionary is what he's using. just to be frank with you. He's using the Black Law Dictionary for his definitions. So their offspring, until they get a Social Security card, then they become children. And according to the Black's Law Dictionaries, one of the children is a legal fiction, meaning that they gave him a straw man. That straw man is the Social Security number. So now, you know, but it gets a little deep into that, but I'm gonna let him continue.
They're two different things, okay? But on the once it becomes legal in that aspect, bam, that's how they get it, okay? And be mindful of that. All right, so either or, like I said, I don't care if you got married. I don't care if, like I said, DNA. They're supposed to give you this information before any of that, okay? And of course, you already know what the legal consequences are. Now, let me ask you a question. What man in his right mind would voluntarily, and I say this all the time, would voluntarily go into this? Who would volunteer for this? Seriously? No man in his right mind would volunteer for this. All right, so it's a due process. And the reason they violated.
Now, what is he just saying right there, though? What is he saying? What he's saying is, you're supposed to be doing this voluntarily. It's voluntary. It's a contract. It's kind of like signing a car note. You will put yourself in debt with a contract. Same thing with child support. It's supposed to be done the same way, where you have full disclosure in the contract. But they haven't done that. They have violated your rights. That's what the brother's talking about. But let's continue, though.
It's your due process because they know for a fact, number one, that child support is 100% voluntary. Number two, if they give you this information up front, you're not going to volunteer into it.
Now, ain't that a motherfucker? It's 100. Child support is 100% voluntary, but they know that if they do what the law tells them they're supposed to do, like every other debt contract, and get full disclosure, then you're not going to do it. So they violate your due process. It's easy as that.
Imagine, sir, you know.
And the due process is the Fifth Amendment in the Constitution. They talk about the first and the second. The first is the whole free speech, and the second is the gun. But the fifth is due process, and this is what they're violating. Okay.
Here, read this and then sign. Whoa, you saying if I sign this paper, this is what's going to happen to me? Yes. Nah, I'm good. No thanks. All right. So it's right there, and they have a quota, and it's all for federal funding. All right. What they're doing is for profit, not for children. Okay. So now you're going to tell them. Yes.
Now, and I want to emphasize what he just said. What they're doing for profit and not for children. Let me put some emphasis on that. Child support is a for-profit industry. If you know anything about business, you can go to the Secretary of State website and look up child support in your area. You look up the child support in your area, it's for-profit. It's not a nonprofit. You know, nonprofits feed the poor. Nonprofits do good for the community. This is not a nonprofit. This is a for-profit. Just like Children's Services is a for-profit. That means they only make money when they take your child and put them in the system, not when they give them to the relative, because they're trying to make a profit. It is also considered a franchise, and they're under franchise law too, where you can have them disclose certain things about their franchise because it's just like McDonald's. It's a franchise, a for-profit franchise. But I'm not going to talk too much. Let's get it back. Let's go back.
What? Now you hear admit that each contractor, all right, did not afford you your guaranteed right to due process orally or through the use of audio equipment and in writing of the legal consequences of paternity establishment. They did.
Now I want to emphasize something. He said the contractor, right? I'm gonna wind it just a little bit right here.
Or through the use of audio equipment and in writing of the legal consequences of paternity establishment. They tell them, guess what? Now you hear admit that each contractor.
Admit that each contractor. Let's go back to the contract. These motherfuckers is contractors. Who is a contractor? The damn magistrate. As soon as you get in the child support court, who the damn? Let's zoom in. Magistrate services. Damn, I didn't got off the thing. Let's go back. Let's go back. Magistrate motherfucking services. What they getting? $55.89 every time they walk in the court. Every time you walk in the court, they get that much money. Let me see. Unit rate. Oh, dang. Yeah, let's move this. Move this. The unit rate per entry. All right. They get $55 every time you walk in front of them to do what's in the best interest of child support. When you stand in front of these magistrates, this is what they get. This is the extra they get on the check. Okay. Let's go down a little bit. And then what we see? The contract cost. They're giving them $1.3 million. These are the contractors that he's talking about. Just to be clear, okay?
I did not afford you your guaranteed right to due process orally or through the use of audio equipment and in writing of the legal consequences of paternity establishment. They did not. All right? And it doesn't matter if you were married or not.
And what is paternity establishment? The birth certificate. That contract. That's the contract. Either that contract, that's what he's talking about when he say paternity establishment, just so y'all can understand.
Okay. Let's see. Now, here's another part of the Fifth Amendment that you want to use. Admit that each 4D contractor did not afford me my guaranteed right to due process. Okay. That such voluntary acknowledgments are admissible as evidence of paternity before my information of self-incriminatory nature was self-incriminatory nature was disclosed. In other words, before you gave them your information, they were supposed to tell you this. All right? Because here's the thing. Check this out. What I would also do is ask them to provide, number one, all right, did you do it orally? All right, who did it? All right, was it done by video or audio equipment? I want to see that you got to show us that tape or whatever. Or in writing. We know it ain't got it in writing. Ask them to prove how they afforded you your due process rights before paternity was established. They can't.
They cannot. They never afforded you your due process rights. All right? And that's the definition of involuntary servitude. Remember, we're not in slavery. Remember what they said? They said the Western world is not in slavery. Yeah, we're gonna talk about them Muslims and how them Chinese doing the Uyghurs, but no, not the Western world. We got out of slavery. But if you read the 13th Amendment, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude is set as a punishment. That is, unless you locked up. But guess what? We not locked up, and we got involuntary servitude. What is involuntary? Your heart beats involuntarily. You had no record. You're not cognitive of it. It just happens to you. But you can look up the definition. That's exactly what they're doing. Slavery nor involuntary servitude with this child support. I ain't gonna ramble too much.
They won't be able to do it. Okay. Now, down here, we'll close it off. All right. Color of law means the appearance or semblance without the substance of a legal right. And well, that's a typo. And you are now liable to, and they are now liable to you under Section 1983. Okay. We already proved that child support was under color of law right down here. We're just putting in the nail that seals the coffin. All right. So what's going to happen is when you get these back, okay, you're going to be using these. And there's something else that I want to show you too. What's going to happen is when you sue everybody, they're going to claim immunity. All right. And let me show you this. All right. And I've showed this before. All right. This is an actual Title 4D contract. This is from Ohio. All right.
Okay. And look at that. Look at that. And I'm showing you the same thing. I got the one from Ohio because I got white fathers who get the Freedom of Information Act. They didn't give it to me. Whenever I do the freedom, they ignore me. But we got all of the motherfucking documentation. Yeah. The same contract. He gonna go, this is where he gonna go. Let me show you where he gonna go. Right here. Where that? Yeah. 18. Independent capacity for the contractor. But he gonna, let me go back a little bit. The contractor and his, he gonna break it down. Let's go back.
Okay, let me show you. All right. Look. Line 18, look. 302, Title 4D of the Social Security Act. Okay. Parts 302, this is the contract. Part 303 are the terms and conditions. All right. You see how
that contract that the juvenile court over here, the contract they got with child support. Let's go up. He just showed it. What's on the top of that motherfucker, man? In accordance with Title 4D of the Social Security Act. Let's go back to his shit. Let's go back. Ooh, yeah. And let me show that. Let me show that, though. Let me show that real quick. Right there. Right there. That's the Social Security Act. Right there. It was never passed through Congress. And it's owned by the Queen of England. But we're going to get into that type of stuff later. Let's continue.
You're not worried about 304. But if you go down to line 18, they're going to come back and say, well, I'm immune. I'm immune from that type of prosecution. Independent capacity for the contractor, right? It's right here on the contract. What I did was I copied and pasted it and put it here. So admit that line 18 of the 4D contract, independent capacity for the contractor and its agents, employees, and subcontractors will act in performance of this 4D contract in an independent capacity and not as officers or employees or agents of the state, whatever state it is, or the Child Support Enforcement Agency.
So what does that mean for these magistrates and over here? What does that mean for them? That means you can sue their asses. The same one right here, look. The same contract with magistrate services. We go down, and they, in verse 18, are independent contractors now. That means you can sue they monkey asses. Verse 18, you can sue them. That's why they put it in here, because they don't want to be responsible for what the fuck these people violating your due process. They don't want to be responsible. They want you to sue them on a personal. They want you to sue these people personally, because child support don't want to be and violate. They want to lay this motherfucker out to dry. Okay, you took our bribes all year. If somebody sue your ass, it's on you. All right. Basically, what's going on? But let's continue though.
Okay. Now, incidentally, I pulled this out of Ohio's contract, but here's the catch: the government was created to be a benefit, security, and protection of your rights. Okay, of our rights. Okay, when they sign that contract, they're acting outside of their constitutional creation, duties, and limitations. All right, because when they do this, and here's how you can prove it. Here's 303. These are the terms. All right, under the terms, they got to specify that they'll comply with Title 4D of the Act. All right, that's 303-107C terms. Okay, Title 4D of the Act. Number one, it's not part of your oath to the Constitution. So they swore off their oath to the Constitution. They dropped that, and then they took an oath to Title 4D of the Social Security Act, which was never enacted into positive law. Gentlemen, I'm the Alvin Osiris. Again,
let me explain what he just said, because that might have went over somebody's head. Basically, what's going on, he just said that these judges, they all swore to the Constitution, but Social Security Act or child support was never enacted into positive law, meaning it was never passed by Congress in order to be attached to the Constitution. It got to go through Congress, and they never did. Therefore, they're going away from the Constitution and doing something which is considered the color of law, or something that is not constitutional. And that's why they can get their asses sued. But let's continue.
Get them to openly admit that they violated your rights. Title 4D Kung Fu technique. It is very effective. And what you can do, again, there's so many different ways that you can use this. You can put them on paper. Of course, it's going to be done first. But when it comes time for the title, for you to take them to court, and it comes time for you to question them on the witness stand, guess what? You're not reinventing the wheel. All right, Mr. Child Support Agent, isn't it true that this is what you would do? I'd play it like this one here. My Honor, I'd like to enter into evidence the Title 4D contract between whatever county and the Title 4D franchise. Okay, and we'll give a copy to the lawyers. And what I'll do is I'll ask their lawyer one simple question. All right, and this will kill it. All right, and again, here's another way to use it. Mr. Lawyer, could you please be so kind and to read into the record line 18 of that contract. All right. And he's going to read it. He's going to read it silently first, right? And the judge is going to be reading it because you're going to give the judge a copy. All right. And he's going to look at that judge, and that judge is going to look back at him. He's going to realize that he has a problem now. Okay. So when these contractors are performing Title 4D duties, our contractual duties in return for payment from the Child Support Enforcement Agency, they're not agents or employees of the state or the Child Support Enforcement. They're independent, which means as soon as they get sued, sorry, we got nothing to do with you. All right, but it is what it is. Gentlemen, I'm the Amin Osiris. If you wish to schedule an appointment to learn this exclusive Kung Fu technique, all right, you can stop here at my website, deceptionstoppers.com, and we'll even show you how to draft your 1983 lawsuit. We'll show you how to write a response opposing the Title 4D remedies, and we'll give you a basics of child support teardown webinar for those of you who do not yet know what it is. All right, this right here is it's a basic class. I don't go about advanced classes and this and that, but this Title 4D draft your lawsuit, that's a pretty good class. All right, and most of it we cover this information right here. But I wanted to give you a couple of golden nuggets. All right, something that you can use immediately to keep yourself free. All right, and to get your, to just pound them down and tear down their foundation. All right, stop by, schedule an appointment, learn this technique, and let's get you free. Hotep.
Okay. So yeah, you can get those interrogatories by joining Fighting for Fatherhood over here in Cincinnati, the different brothers over here. You know what I mean? We got the nice interrogatories for you. You know what I mean? And we can just tear them motherfuckers down real quick. All right. I want to give all praises, all honor, all glory to the Holy One of Israel, of course. Praise the mighty Yahweh.
They're coming up on this thing, they police chase after me. Hear this. All praise.